So, ready to shoot. And we're back. Hope you had a nice lunch. By the way, did you all eat lunch? Because symbolically, when you learn something and then you eat food, the food symbolically represents the absorption or digestion of what you learned. So it's a very good sign is after you go to a lecture or a seminar and you feel very hungry, even though you didn't do any work, it's because you've absorbed and digested so much that now you need to ground and energetically replace it physically. So that's why when you study for a test, even though you're just laying around studying, you feel hungry because you are actually need to symbolize with food. That's how that works. I wanted to show you about the concept, because very often I use the term, and I showed you this morning on the board, the term oversoul. And what does that mean? And how does that relate to you as an individual? How many of you actually have heard this term before? You have heard it before? Because it's not commonly used. Once again, I like to use an analogy to get the concept across because it helps to see a picture and get the concept down in your mind. If you think of the oversoul almost like an umbrella, like the master intelligence or umbrella, okay? Okay? Now, from that master intelligence comes what I call, or what you may have heard of as life streams. Almost like the tentacles hanging from a jellyfish. It's kind of like that. These are the life streams, or you can even say they're personalities. Now, these personalities or life streams, as they emanate from the master intelligence, pass through layers of realities. Some are physical, some are non-physical. It depends on the reality. These are realities. Now here's the interesting part. Where the life stream intersects with a reality, these are lifetimes or existences, etc., etc. Understand? So that means, for you as an individual sitting here today, this could be you. Let's say this is your oversoul, and this is your life stream. That means you exist on all of these different realities simultaneously. Remember, there's no time, there's no space. There just is. If you want to take that concept of no time, past, present, and future and apply it to the as above, so below concept, like how do you deal with that at this moment? How does that apply to your life at this moment? Well, we're sitting here in Chicago, and it's, on a Saturday afternoon, but at the same moment, it's Sunday morning in Tokyo. At the same moment, they're having breakfast in Fiji. It's early morning. Same planet, same moment, different times. As above, so below. So take that concept of at this moment it's really 2 different days, 24 different time zones on the same planet. Extrapolate that now into creation. Past, present, and future. At this moment, Benjamin Franklin is in Philadelphia, the Romans are invading some country, Atlantis is existing at the same moment.
That would be when hypnotherapy would work when you go back to change things.
Yes.
That explains that.
Exactly. All is at the same moment. It's really called, what the best term for it is, the eternal now. It's an eternal now. That's what it is. Everything's happening at this moment. Except that the human brain is finite. So you're the left brain, the ego, who you think you are, is saying, okay, I can only concentrate on this moment right now. Even though there's infinite moments all about that I can focus on if I want to, I can only focus on this one at a time. Because you just can't handle it. That's the problem with the Kundalini activation we spoke about this morning. Because then it's like, boom, you know all of this. It's like, well, who am I then? I'm all of this. Whoa, I can't handle. Then that gets kind of squeezed into your left brain, and your left brain goes, whoa, I'm nuts now. That's what happens. Can't focus. That's why it's so dangerous until you slowly grow and grow and grow until you start to encompass the understanding of all of this in sequence. And then you can get the totality when you get to that point. But I have some very important things to tell you about this concept that's going to be very different about what you've learned all these years. It might bother you, and you might accept it. Depends. Up to you. But here you are in this particular example of a live stream. And what would these be to you? Let's say that this is you right now. And in this timeline, this is you. Who are these to you then? Same live stream as you, different realities. How are they related to you? What would you call them? What kind? What would you say they are? What was the term you might use for them? Exactly. They would be alternate selves of you. Still, you. Alternate selves of you. What would you call this being? Here you are now. These are your alternate selves. Here's another personality within your master intelligence oversoul. What is this to you?
Wouldn't it still be the same alternate?
It would be an alternate self, but it wouldn't be exactly the same life stream. It would be an alternate. You'd have the same master intelligence of the same oversoul, but not the same personality stream.
So that's like the life stream from this incarnation.
Yes, yes. However, this could be ET level.
Oh, okay.
This could be angelic level.
I understand that now.
This might be a lobster creature in some alternate universe.
Well, from the dog stuff.
But you see?
Yeah, okay.
So, but still, it's part of you. This is where the distortion comes in of twin souls, twin flames, what is it? Twin soulmates, twin flames, twin souls. What does that mean? Very widely bantered about terms. And basically, these are the three categories. Remember, everything's in threes. So these are the basic three categories of how personalities interrelate with one another. And quite basically, a soulmate, and all of us here could be soulmates, is simply a band or groupings of soul personalities who tend to travel together in existence because they are familiar with each other's energy and they feel comfortable. Think of it kind of like trees in a forest. A certain stand of trees would be symbolic of a soulmate. They're all soulmates. They're growing together. Think of it in terms of tree. Even the Bible uses the vines and tree of life. Trees are very symbolic in their analogy. So think of this as a stand of trees that grow together, soulmates. They just travel together. twin souls, have you ever seen a tree? Have you ever seen a tree that there's two stems growing out, but there's one root system? One root system, many stems coming out. These are twin souls. This would be twin souls. Here, this. Very often, twin souls do not incarnate at the same time because they act as a balance for one another. One is physical, one is non-physical. One is usually male, one is usually female. Blah, 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 like that. Now, this, different branches or sub-branches of the same offshoot, this is a twin flame. These are the passionate lovers that can never be separated, no matter what happens. If one is gone, the other feels the loss. It's just never the same. That's twin flame. It's the strongest soul connection that you can possibly have. So that's how you know. Here would be, well, for example, soulmates don't necessarily have to be of the same oversoul, because there are many oversouls. Twin souls, all of these are twin souls to one another. Okay? These are twin flames. Now what can happen, especially with twin flames, which by the way could be identical twins too. Sometimes the energy of a soul personality is so powerful that it just cannot incarnate on the same body. And that it's so intelligent, it needs varied experiences for the same energy. So very often, it can split. See? And then create other existences, offshoot of the same line that splits. That can happen. Like the branches would split on a branch comes out and then it has offshoots of the branch. Trees are very symbolic.
Like if they were, I'm thinking of the movie Little Buddha, where they brought the three kids.
I didn't see it.
Looking for, what he was. This one guy died. And ended up being these three children that these Buddhist monks found were representations of this one priest, for lack of a better term. In the end, they found out that all three of them retained the knowledge of that one person. So that's kind of what you're talking about.
Kind of like that. It's similar, but of course the movie. So yeah.
Well, based on a real life.
But sometimes an oversoul or the master intelligence will decide, well, I'll use a different color. This guy is in a non-physical reality, and this one is in a physical reality, and they're both not doing so well. It might be a good idea to put them together for a while. Help each one enhance each part. It's part of the same oversoul. What I'm trying to bring out to you is the difference between these two terms, which is so important. The difference between a walk-in and a merger. The merger symbol you have in your book. Now, I know what you have read out there. I know what you think about these, but you may not even have heard of this one. But let me explain something to you. Now that you understand conceptually about oversouls and soul personalities. We haven't done the DNA part yet, but that's also important. It is cosmically illegal for a personality of another oversoul to occupy a body of another oversoul. That's like a carjacking, literally. Those people out there who claim to be walk-ins or who say they had contract before they were born, that's just not the case. Walk-ins are cosmically illegal. Mergers are perfectly acceptable because it's a non-physical personality and a physical personality of the same oversoul blending their energies to enhance the personalities. Each retains its identity and knows that the purpose is to enhance itself. Now, keeping in mind, it's always a non-physical with a physical. It'd be pretty messy to have two physical people merged together. Okay? So keep that in mind. Now, so when someone, tomorrow we're going to learn about DNA and how it's created by the mind pattern. It's almost like tailored clothing. That's what your body is, tailored to your particular mind pattern. Nobody else can use it. It's like wearing clothes that don't fit you, belong to somebody else. So a true walk-in, one where a soul leaves and the other one enters in, can happen, but the body doesn't last too long because the soul personality is not driving its own DNA. It's driving DNA that it did not create, so it kind of burns the body out, and the body will die eventually anyway. So this is not long-lasting. I think what most of those people out there are talking about is this, but they don't understand it, so they're calling it something else. But this is how simultaneous existence operates. And when I talk about alternate selves or parallel universes or alternate existences, this is what we are referring to. Okay? Everybody okay with that? Clear questions on that? Okay. So may I then erase this? And you're going to hear a lot more about this in this new century because a lot of that is happening. And do you remember the oversoul when I drew it on the board this morning on the flow chart? The highest point intelligence-wise of the oversoul was at the Christ consciousness level. That's where the pinnacle was. That's the connecting point of all of the oversouls to God mind. So theoretically, if we want to look at this, if God mind is at the center of existence, and we showed you the oversouls and the triangular shape in the flowchart. Of course, it's really more multidimensional than that. It's coming out this way and all the way around. It's really like a globe. We really have here like a wheel. That's why the Buddhists have this wheel of life that they spin all the time. What that represents is the oversoul's connection to God mind at the center and how the oversouls are all connected. That's what that's all about. Okay. Now, we're going to do an exercise now that I call the ocean of life. It's an imagery that will tell you, if you pay attention to the details of what you're going to see, it's going to show you, number one, how you think of yourself in life at this moment, how you operate in that life, and hopefully you will also see your personal archetype. Now, your personal archetype is your symbol in hyperspace. It's like your thumbprint or your signature. It's unique to you. Nobody else in existence has it. It's your unique thumbprint in hyperspace, and there will be a symbol, geometric shapes in color, that represent your totality at this moment. This exercise that we're going to do right now will hopefully reveal that to you. It's an imagery that I'll walk you through as we do it, and then pay attention to some of the details that you see that will tell you your particular mind pattern status. That's what we're going to do right now. Okay? And it's very powerful, and it's something that once you know how to do it, you can do on your own every few months or so, maybe twice a year, so you could see your progress along the way. So, are we ready to do the exercise? Yeah? Okay. And I will guide you through it. Just listen to what I'm telling you. Now, here's something I need to tell you, as it goes without saying all the time, that no matter what we're doing, no matter what exercise that we may be doing together, if at any time you feel like you need to get out of the exercise, for whatever reason, no matter what I'm saying or what anyone's doing, you simply put yourself in brown, balance your T-bar, and come out. No matter what anyone else is doing, protect yourself. If you feel uncomfortable at any time in any exercise, always remember that. Okay? So, we put our feet flat on the floor, hands at the side or on your lap, and we're going to do a couple of cleansing breaths in through the nostrils and slowly out through the mouth, clearing out any of the toxins or contaminants that may have developed in the last few hours. And while we're doing that, we're going to balance the T-bar at the pineal gland, or center the dot in the circle at the pineal gland. Take one more, two more cleansing breaths. And now, visualize yourself standing barefoot on a beach. The ocean is on your left. On your right are palm trees and tropical flowers, and off in the distance behind that are violet snow-capped mountains. You are alone on the beach. There are no other people and no signs of civilization, just you and nature. Feel how the sand is on your feet. How does it feel to you? Take note of that. Feel also how the air temperature feels on your body. Slowly now, start walking up the beach, keeping the ocean to your left and the mountains and trees to your right. As you're walking, look up at the sky. How does the sky look? What is the weather like? Is there sunshine? Is it cloudy? How does it feel on you? Pay note now to the ocean. What's the color of the water? What's the texture? What's the water doing? And as you're walking now and paying attention to these details, you now stop and turn and face the ocean. Walk slowly up to your ankles into the water and feel how the water is to your body. Immediately now, you look down at your hands and see something that you can use in your hands right now to scoop water out of the ocean. The first thing you see in your hands is what's there. Pay careful attention to what is in your hands. Whatever it is that you find in your hands now, use to scoop some water out of the ocean and gently pour it over yourself, feeling how that is to the body. Now, look up at the sky over the ocean, and in the sky, you will see your personal archetype right there in the sky. Pay attention to the color and shape of what you're seeing. And memorize that. Now, slowly turn back towards the beach and walk back up onto the sand. Turn now so that the ocean is on your right and the mountains and trees to your left. And slowly walk back to the spot where you first materialized on the beach. And when you arrive there, stop, take a deep, cleansing breath in through the nostrils, slowly releasing through the mouth. Put yourself completely in brown, inside and out. And when you've accomplished that, balance your T-bar or center the dot in a circle. And when you feel comfortable, you can become aware again of the room. And then write down everything you observed. How many of you were able to get through the whole thing? I clean up some of the mess you made, the sand and the water dripped. We're going to go through now some of the symbolism that you may have seen. We'll talk about that. When you first arrived on this scene and you felt your feet on the sand, what did the sand feel like to you? Just throw out what you felt. Soft, warm. Anything else? That was easy. All the same, huh? You weren't together, you're supposed to go separately.
It started out that way and then it was wet and
Okay, that's what I mean. Well, still on the sand though, right?
Yeah.
By the way, where were we? Symbolically. I mean, don't tell me you were in the Bahamas or anything, but symbolically, where do you think you went? I know it's hyperspace, but let's be symbolic. What were we actually doing?
It was our private space, wasn't it?
Yes, but where?
Inside ourselves.
Where inside?
It went through heart.
No.
Mind.
Close? Let's look at the symbolism. We had on the left the ocean, on the right mountains and palm trees. We were in the sand. What is that kind of symbolic of? Left, right, middle. Oh, come on. Where, what was the pointing? The sand. Because what does that represent? It was the liaison between the ocean and the land. Yeah, duh. Come on. Every other state got it. So we had the ocean on the left, and the left being physical reality, the ocean of life. That's your life. Here was your spiritual side, the high mountains, high level perspective. Violet and white. God mind, yeah, but not in physical reality. Still snow capped. And the strip of sand in between. So, why I'm asking is because how you felt on that sand is how you feel about your balancing abilities, how you're able to balance yourself. So if it felt soft and warm, that means you feel good about your central place and your balance, and you're able to center yourself. If it becomes wet or hard, what does that imply? When sand becomes wet, what's happening to it? Water is infiltrating. And so if we are in our pineal gland on the sand, and the ocean of life, the water is infiltrating our sand, that means we have too much left brain thinking that's flooding into our balancing place, and it's not letting us balance very well. So that's a clue for us of how we're allowing the physical world to overwhelm us. If we find the sand very hard, then we find balancing difficult. It's hard for us to balance. So we need to work on that more. And we need to be very honest about this, because there's no judgment. It's just a statement of how we are feeling and acting right now and being. So as far as the ocean, when you looked at the ocean, what did the ocean look like to you? What color, what texture?
Light blue for me.
Light blue?
Light blue.
Okay. What else?
And it was smooth.
Smooth.
It wasn't turbulent at all.
Okay. Anybody else? Green. Okay. Anybody else? Silver. I've heard that before. Silver. Anybody else? Anybody have waves or anything like that? Or sharks? Okay. Someone told me they had a shark in there. No? Okay. What is this? Well, it's a small class, so we have little limited adjectives. Well, light blue. Now remember, the ocean is your ocean of life. That's how you perceive your life. Light blue represents what? Communication, but also isolation, maybe a little depression sometimes, and what else? Thinking a lot about the near future. Okay, thinking a lot ahead instead of what's right now. So it has both good and negative connotations to it. Okay, depending. Smooth, that means you perceive your life as relatively calm right now, even flow. If you had a lot of waves, what would that mean? I mean, turbulence means things are bumpy for you right now. Things are coming at you. Green. What would green then represent in your ocean of life? Would represent that things are happening in your life right now that are bringing up issues from the past. Can be emotional. Okay? So we need to look at that in that person's life. Now, silver is interesting. I've heard this a couple times before. I didn't go over this with you, but silver is a color associated with the angelic hierarchy. So that can imply that the angelic part of you is infiltrating or helping or assisting in your life situation right now. Silver is an angelic color. What did the sky look like? Clear. Okay, clear, sunny. What else? Anybody else? Was it raining in your world? No? Gold? Golden. Puffy cloud or dark cloud or puffy clouds? What else? Anybody else? The clear blue. Okay. That's generally everything that then. So let's look at these symbols. The sky in this visualization represents how you perceive your reaction or interaction is with the God mind within you. So if you see clear and sunny skies, that means you perceive your interaction with God to be pretty open and even and understandable. Golden is a God mind color that you have a lot of interaction and understanding of the God mind. Puffy clouds, any kind of clouds, represent confusion or doubt. But it's normal to have puffy clouds here and there. That represents an occasional questioning of things that are going on between you and God. That's very normal. If you had a dark black sky and a strong wind, I'd say you're a little pretty angry at God. Blue and no clouds, blue, clear communication, not a doubt about it. You're just pretty sure about what you're getting. Before I get to this part, which is very symbolic, just by a show of hands, how many of you did see your personal archetype? Okay. Do not share it with anybody. Your personal archetype is the unique statement in hyperspace of you. If you give it to someone or show it to someone, it is equivalent of telling someone your social security number, your credit card number, and your bank account number, which, by the way, I would like before you leave today. Otherwise, they can access your frequency very quickly. You don't want to give them that access. So that's for you personally. It's a statement of who and what you are at this moment. And those of you who have the Healer's Handbook can look in the dictionary part and break the pieces down and see what they mean. And then the colors will refine that and tell you how that refines that meaning. So that's important to you to understand that. Also realize that will change as your mind pattern changes. As you learn and experience different things and grow, that will shift, which is why it's so important that you do this exercise on your own 6 to 12 months, every 6 to 12 months, see any difference or change in who and what you are. Now, here's very important, and you need to be honest with this. What did you see in your hands when you looked down?
I got a clear cup.
A clear cup.
Clear cup.
A bucket. With a silver bucket? Okay, in it. Yeah?
I had not a shovel, but a little hand.
Like a scoop? Was it in the color?
I had a red handle and
Okay, you're all in big trouble.
Uh-oh.
What does this represent? Well, what you hold in your hands in front of this ocean of life, and I said it's what you're going to use to take out of it, that represents what you feel your capacity is to take from life. And as usual, and this is very usual, everyone shows a limitation. I can take just so much and not anymore. That's very common. And it's based on your opinion of yourself and how you were raised and brought up to believe on what you're allowed to take. Ultimately, you should realize that you cannot deplete the ocean of life. It's a vast ocean, and you're the only one on the beach. You can take as much as you want, and there's plenty left. Now, I'm going to tell you that the clear cup isn't so bad. It says, I can scoop out just so much, but I take clearly enough of what I need. I can clearly see what I'm taking. I'm not hiding anything. Silver bucket. Well, silver, again, we knew, represented an angelic frequency or a connection to angelic levels, but still it's limiting. It's saying I'm allowing a higher energy within myself to guide me, but I'm still limiting that, of what I take. And a scoop, well, that's also very limiting, but how so? Tan. Tan is a combination of brown and white. White meaning a very high cleansing purity, and the brown, grounding. So this person is taking just so much with a grounding energy, and also in anger. There's an anger in what you take from life, probably because it's so limited. But I want you to realize that you are doing this to yourselves. You are the one who created this in your hands. That's what you saw. And no one else was there but you. What could have been the best thing, or not a thing, to see, to scoop out from the ocean? Any ideas? Dump truck? Okay. Still a limitation there. What else? Well, the two best answers I ever heard was one person who said he had this gigantic hose connected right up to the mountains. They just stuck in the ocean and scooped up all that he could ever take, just endlessly. The other one was a woman who said that when she stepped into the ocean, she turned her hands violet and scooped up with the hands into the ocean, like as if it just pulled right into her own body with violet hands. Again, no limitations, taking as much as you need. Now that doesn't mean that when next time you go back and do that, you can say, aha, I'm going to have violent hands and I'm going to have the hose. Because if it isn't you, it's not going to stay. And it's not honest. Next time you go to do this exercise, this is January, so maybe 6 months, June, July, you go and you do this exercise and just consciously look and see what's there. Remember, write down what you saw now, and then in 6 months from now, look and see what's there, and see if it's expanded or gotten smaller or stayed the same. Be very honest and look and see what's in your hands. And that will tell you your progress of how you're doing. Very important. Also look again to see your archetype. Has it changed? Has it stayed the same? Also realize you may not see a geometric shape and color. You might see a pictogram, you might see an object, whatever it happens to be, just keep note of it and see how it progresses and changes as you move on through your experiences. Hopefully, you'll learn more and more and assimilate more and more, and these will start to change and become more pleasant. I've had people tell me that they had quicksand at the pineal gland. And the ocean was rough and turbulent and dark blue and pieces flying out of like debris. Other people had rain clouds and storms and lightning. These are images that people perceived in their ocean of life. I've had people who tell me they had just a little spoon, or they had a broken cup. Things that really were limited, couldn't even get anything out of it. So these are the mind patterns that you need to correct. Realize that you have mind patterns of limitation. You're only allowing yourself just so much, when in actuality, you can have all you want. The universe, God mind is infinite, and you're allowed to have all of that. May I erase this? Yeah.
At the very end, I have faith in it.
What did it look like?
It looks like because I see them every once in a while, the term that comes to my mind is an ancient, a man is very old.
What do you think that was?
I'm not sure.
Could have been the personification of your own oversoul. That's what you could have been looking at. And that's what I wanted to tell you about when we did the oversoul diagram. And I want you to think about it because I know it doesn't go along with what you've learned. But when you talk about angels, spirit guides, ascended masters, whatever your terminology is, realize that what you're seeing are those pieces of your own oversoul. They're you. They're you. People tell me I have an Indian guide, I have an Egyptian guide, an Atlantean guide. Well, there weren't that many American Indians alive ever to have so many guides like that. That's you. That's your own oversoul. Okay? Take responsibility for your own intelligence. Most of us, as we talked about last night, have victim mentality, which is why the suppression is allowed on this planet. And so, when we see an intelligent being come to us and give us information or talk to us or protect us, we have such a low self-worth that we can't say, yes, that's part of me. I am so powerful. We have been taught to say, no, you're not. You're this big. So that's outside of you. That's just part of the externalization process. Take credit and say, yes, that's part of me. That is part of my personality and my oversoul that's working with me. That's powerful. And then you'll see real work coming into you when you claim your responsibility and your power.
Well, I've heard of the opposite, as you mentioned earlier, the female, the opposite is the male side, and then I've also heard what you just said about, like I said, I do see faces, and someone else has told me that it's just another part of me.
Yes, yes.
And that's the first thing that came to my mind, but I don't know what to say that.
But you can say, yes, that's me. I am powerful. I am that wise, ancient being. That's me. That's part of me. Okay? And you'll be correct. That's not arrogant. There's a group that now says, I am God. I am God. I think Shirley MacLaine was the one who first publicized that. And people, oh, how blasphemous is that? You're not God. Yeah, well, nothing can exist if you're not God. Everything is God. Yes, I am God. So is the chair. So is the chakra tube. So is the light bulb. Everything is. Nothing would be without it. You have to keep awareness of that. Many people tell me they have a difficulty in visualizing or seeing the T-bar, what have you. And so for that, I do like to teach you pineal gland expansion exercises. Now, just like any other part of the body, if you exercise something, it gets stronger and more developed. Same with the pineal gland. The more you work with it, the more developed it becomes. One day, in the future, linear future, human beings, instead of having a left hemisphere, right hemisphere, and pineal gland, basically what you'll have is a gigantic pineal gland. You won't need hemispheres. You just have this one gigantic liaison mechanism between all realities that you'll be able to use instantly. That's what the ultimate goal will be. But for the meantime, we need to work on expanding our pineal gland capacity. Now, I'm going to give you 2 visualizations to do and then other things that you can do. And again, I'm not the greatest artist, so just keep that in mind. If this is a person, smiling because he's going to expand his pineal gland, and this is the eye. Now, center of the head, royal blue, pineal gland. That's where you're going to start. What you're going to do is start a spiraling in royal blue out from the pineal gland until it gets so large and so far away from the starting point, you can't even see where it ends. It's just, the spiral is just so far and wide. When it reaches that point, stop and slowly pull it back into the pineal gland, kind of corkscrewing it right back in where it started. And then, once you pulled it back in, go to brown and come out of it. And you can do this as many times a day or a minute that you feel comfortable in doing. Second one, make the person smile. Same starting point in royal blue, only you're going to start by putting the circle with the dot at the pineal gland in royal blue. Now, what you're going to do is start growing or enlarging the circle with the dot in all directions. It gets bigger and bigger until you become the dot at the center of the circle. And when that happens, once you've reached that point where you become the dot at the center of the circle, turn it all to brown and come out of it. Remember, what is brown doing when you do that? And what else? It's saying, now. I want it to happen now. Brown also means the present moment. Because when you work in hyperspace, like when you're sending healing work or you're trying to get something, hyperspace doesn't care if you get it now or 10 million years from now, or there's no time or space. So you have to send a color code that says, I want it right now. That's what the brown does. It grounds it and says, now. So that's what we're doing with that. Okay? The next thing you can do is not a visualization. How many of you know about or heard of frankincense? You heard of that? You use it? How do you use it? Yeah, I understand that they now have frankincense tablets. I never knew they had that. Yeah. But frankincense has the function of oxygenating the pineal gland and activating it. So you can use tablets, you can use the oil, essential oil, you can use the incense, whatever it is that you're using with frankincense will stimulate your pineal gland and increase its abilities. Oh, can you ingest the oil? Because I know some people have that and they just rub it here or in their palms. And but I didn't know you could ingest it. It's okay to do that? Interesting. Yeah. Oh, really?
1 to 2 drops.
Ah, okay. I didn't know that. But thank you for telling me that. So that's how you can use frankincense. Another thing you can do, which is really an amazing capacity, I never knew it had this capacity, and of course many of you have tried this already, is St. John's wort. Especially if you take 1 or 2 capsules of it, or drink St. John's wort tea just before bed. It'll go right to your pineal gland and get that cleared out. But here's what might happen. One side effect of the St. John's wort is it will put you in a higher state of consciousness and open your pineal gland, but it's also going to bring up issues that you haven't looked at, that you buried. So you might get nightmares or have visions of some ugly things until you clear them out. But eventually it will clear it out and it'll just start opening up your pineal gland. So just keep that as a note. I don't want to get blamed for nightmares, because it can do that if you haven't dealt with some of your issues. And then another thing which I have seen, and seems to work pretty nicely, is use of royal blue light. And they have these little wands just about this size that you can turn on, and this royal blue light comes out, and you can just put it at your pineal gland. Just stimulate the nerve endings at the forehead to go to the pineal gland. Actually, see the top of this? This is the more perfect royal blue color. This is real royal blue. This isn't so good, but this is real royal blue. That really will stimulate with that light at your pineal gland. So can I erase this? Oh, by the way, all of these can be used as often as you like. Interchangeably, you can do this once and then do this right after. It doesn't matter. They're all exercises that you can't hurt your pineal gland that way. And this will really be a way for you to get control of your own mind pattern. By the way, how many of you, when you dream, actually dream in symbol rather than pictograms or physical type stuff? Anybody? Or even, do you do meditation at all, or do you ever get symbols or colors or anything like that?
A lot of times when I go to bed, we were talking about this earlier, I have closed my eyes, and it's driven me nuts because I get a flashing of a huge series of symbols like in white.
So here's the thing that the story disturbs people. Hyperspace downloads so quickly that sometimes they tell me, I can't even see what they are because it goes like that. But bear in mind, when that happens, it's really downloading into your pineal gland. It's like when you download a file on the computer, it goes whoosh, and then it's there, then you got to open the file and look. Same thing. As above, so below. Computers are based on the mind.
I've also had the large, and in my mind I call it a tablet of symbols and different things, and I've got white light just come and scan it.
So what do? When you can't get all that information so quickly? So after the download, ground yourself. Put yourself in brown. Let it settle in. Then go back into your meditation. Concentrate on the pineal and mentally ask to open that download in a slow speed. And you control the speed of how you receive it. Then you just write down the symbols or the colors, the image, whatever it happens to be, and you can decipher it. Keeping in mind again to keep them in the order in which you receive it. Okay? So that you don't screw up the order. Because then that changes the meaning. And also, make sure you get the right color, because that refines the meaning. Make a big difference. Because remember, now that we've done this, I want to ask you again about this symbol that you've seen in a department store. Okay? What does that say to you? Now you know what the color means, you know what the symbol represents. So put them together, and what is this company telling you about itself, or want you to do? What's going on with that? First of all, let's decide. What is a circle with the dot? Physically, it's the pineal gland. Yes? And what does it mean? It means awareness. What does the color mean? It's red, it's bright red. Anger, frustration, sexuality. So what does that say? You're driving along, you see this symbol on the board, on the sign. What is that doing to you? What are they hoping they know it's doing to you? Well, it's saying, be aware that in this place, you will have an awareness of your sexuality and frustrations can be met here. They see this, they just go in that store, I don't know why. That's why you see them all along the highways. It's enticement to come in. It's saying, it's hitting you right here. It's at your center point. So no matter what brain you're in at the moment, it's centering, it's pulling you here and saying, oh God, I've got to go in that store because my sexuality, my hostility, my frustration, I'm going to find something to do with it there. And I need that. It's a really brilliant archetype. So simple, and I bet they paid millions of dollars for it. I would have done it for half or whatever they paid. So now you know what this is about. There's a car, and I think it's a Japanese car, that has a symbol that looks like that. Do you know, did you see it? It's not, is it Mitsubishi or is it, yeah, I've seen it, and I can't remember what the car brand is, but what is that telling you? This is a symbol of power, and now there's two of them, so it's saying double power, real power in this car. You're really going to be a hot stuff in this thing. Okay? And they're using all the car manufacturers. One of the first to do this was to use our archetypes instead of logos or the name. And now in the 21st century, this is what you're going to be seeing. Not the words, but this. Because they know that's the God-mind language. Now, no advertising. You see this, you know all about it. Brilliant.
Now, where did the translation of the symbols come from?
I was waiting for someone to ask me that. Well, a couple of answers for that. She said, where did the translations come from? Well, number one, when the conventional government back in 47 found that Roswell crash that we talked about last night, and it found those I-beam from the ship with all these symbols on it, there were these symbols on the I-beam. You needed to understand what that was about. When 54 came, remember 1954, when the actual was interaction with the president and these alien beings, one of their agreements was to decipher these symbols. And we had a basic dictionary of what some of the symbols meant. So when Montauk came along, one of my jobs was to go into hyperspace and find these symbols and decipher or discern the meanings. And that's what we did. And that was a very, very long, years and years that it took. And that's how we deciphered the meaning. And we proved it or tested it by transmitting it into space, and we get answers. And in fact, I talked about the string of pearls comet that hit Jupiter back in 93 or 4. And one of the jobs I had when I worked at the military base in Philadelphia was that one of the pieces was transmitting these symbols to the Earth. And one of my jobs was to decipher what the heck they were transmitting. And so, yes, that's how we started to know the meanings of them. But no matter where you are, what reality, what species, doesn't matter, this is fundamental to you. It's an inter-universal language, God-mind language. It's the language from which all things have descended. Verbal and written communication is the lowest form of communication. So if it's back in the head, that's really lower than that. But yeah, that's verbal and written language is the lowest because it's ambiguous. What does it mean? You know, sometimes there can be a sentence what they mean by that. But there's no, the color and the shape tell you this is what I mean. Very. And there's no conjugation, no punctuation. It's very easy. No spelling mistakes. And how many archetypes are there? Infinite. How many thoughts you have? Every thought has an archetype. How many thoughts have there ever been? That's how many archetypes there are. Quite extensive. But what you have there in the book is a basic dictionary. Along those lines, I'm going to give you now what is called, what the government called, dolphin frequency. You've heard about dolphins for 20 some odd years now. Half of it isn't true. Some of it is, some of it isn't. Again, disinformation. What's the difference between misinformation and disinformation? Who knows the difference? Misinformation is information that you're given that's misunderstood or misinterpreted. Disinformation is information given for for the purpose of lying to you in a sandwich of lies and truth. It's called a lie sandwich. There's either two lies on the outside and the truth in the middle, or two truths on the outside and the lie in the middle. Either way, the whole story isn't true. But you think it is because of that one piece of truth in there, in the sandwich. Understand? That's the disinformation. Part true, mostly not. But you think the whole thing is because you know that part is true. That's what some of these entities do when they channel or they give you this stuff. They know your grandmother's maiden name and they know that. So, oh, they know that, then everything else is telling me is true. No. It's tapping into your own intelligence and giving you your own information back. That's another whole topic. So be careful. What color can we use to discern if it's true? Pale orange. Remember the pale orange. You're talking to somebody, did I discuss this with you, the pale orange? If I'm talking to somebody and I want to see if they're telling me the truth, I visualize pale orange around them. If they're lying to me, the color will change, and then I'll know it's not true. If the color stays pale orange, I know they're telling me the truth. Also, I can forcibly hold that person in the pale orange so that they can't change color. Then if that person still wants to lie to me, they won't be able to speak. They'll just throw their hands up and walk away. If they're violent, they might hit me first and then walk away, but they just won't be able to speak. So try that on your own in your daily life and see how it works for you. Now, there's only two colors that are cosmically or legally allowed to force somebody in without permission. One of them is the pale orange, because absolute truth is always permissible. The other is the violet, because filtering and protection is also always permissible. Those two colors can never hurt anybody. Now, remember I spoke to you this morning about pale pink? And you might think, well, pale pink might be okay too because it's unconditional love. But you don't have permission because there are some, especially male people, who would not like the pale pink and would be antagonized by it. So that pale pink, you still need permission. Dolphin frequency. I'm going to draw on the board for you. It's two circles with a dot in the middle and three sine waves underneath. That's dolphin frequency code. And I'm going to break it down into three components because just like we talked about, 3 is very symbolic. It's composed of the 2 circles, the dot, and the 3 waving lines. 2 circles is sonar. Dot is intelligence. And this is water frequency. So in hyperspace, dolphins mean a sonic intelligence in water. That's what dolphin frequency means in hyperspace language. All species archetypes have 3 components. 3, perfect creation. Before we do work on the dolphin frequency, I need to explain to you about it. There's actually legalities involved. In the laws of the United States, on the Book of Laws, there is a law that says no American citizen may have contact with an extraterrestrial. Notice, it didn't say alien. It said extraterrestrial, and there's a reason for that. Because they can control your interactions with an alien. Remember we said an alien was a physical being from this physical universe just as another planet. They can see where that coming and goings, so they can monitor that. We said an extraterrestrial can bleep in and out of reality. It's borderline physical, non-physical. That's hard to control, therefore it's against the law. Smart. Yeah, so U.S. citizens may not have contact with an extraterrestrial. That's on the law. You can look up the law. On that same page of law, it says, no U.S. citizen may have unsupervised contact with a dolphin. Same page of law. So what does that say about what they perceive dolphins to be? What does that say? Hint. Dolphins have a larger brain capacity than human beings, which means they're smarter. They have a larger brain in comparison to their body. They are much more intelligent. And they communicate with the language of hyperspace between each other. You have heard of the chirps and the beeps and that's their sonar being sent out so that they can see what's around them. Then whatever they get back from the sonar, they know what's around them. They communicate between each other, pineal gland to pineal gland, with the language of hyperspace. At the Montauk Project and in other projects around the world, when the government experimented on and with dolphins, they would hold up flashcards of archetypes in color, and the dolphin would respond. That's how they worked. The dolphin would swim up, look, and do whatever it said. Now, dolphins don't consider the body the way a human being considers the body. Dolphins consider it just as a vehicle to travel in this particular environment, which is why they are known to beach themselves in particular areas. When a dolphin beaches itself, it's giving a statement to the people in that area that there's a problem. It's giving up its body to say, you're going to be giving up your body if you don't change something. That's what they're trying to say to the humans. Now, the U.S. government, and I think almost exclusively the U.S. government, takes dolphins on mind control or implants them with control devices and uses them for kamikaze military purposes, to plant depth charges, to blow up ships and boats, and they are controlled. That's not of the dolphin's own free will. So keep that all in mind before we do our exercises. I also need to say to you that for a while, before I gave this out in classes, which I've been giving this out for a couple of years, the government really didn't say too much about dolphins except you needed permission to swim with them. If you go to a dolphin center in Florida or California or Hawaii, wherever, you need to sign up with the organization for a time slot, and then they will let you swim with the dolphins for a limited amount of time, and then you have to come out of the water. If they see too much interaction with you and the dolphin, you're out of there before it's over. It's very regulated. And in Florida, particularly in Daytona, there's a lot of dolphins along the coast. I was at a conference once in Daytona, and the dolphins were swimming out in the water, and one of the guys said, I want to go swim with them. So he just went out and he went into the ocean. As soon as he got in the water, you know, Daytona, you can drive on the beach. Police cars drove right up onto the beach, and they were waiting for him. And he turned around, he saw the police waiting. So he kept swimming down the coast for a while, and then he came out. He didn't go near the dolphins. But yeah, they watch. And if they see you go without permission, you're in trouble. There's a law on the books that you'll be arrested. Now, because there's been a lot of work with this frequency, because you can do this frequency no matter where you are. You don't have to be in the water or the ocean with them to do this work. You can be in the moon. The frequency is in hyperspace. Now, in the last year, there have been television shows or documentaries on cable that have been saying that dolphins are dangerous. And they've been showing people who've been attacked by dolphins and their arms broken or limbs taken off. It's been on television in the US and Canada, and now I heard in Germany when I was there, it was on. Why are they doing this? Well, because people are learning about dolphin frequency and they can communicate with the dolphins, so they want to scare you into thinking dolphins are not so nice, so you'll stay away from them. Because they're concerned that if you go on the frequency, You might learn something you're not supposed to learn.
End up getting killed too, though.
You?
No,
Well, glad you mentioned that. A few months ago, off the east coast of Florida, lots of dolphins were washing up dead. And the U.S. Navy said, well, it might have been because of the sonic experiments we were conducting underwater that cracked their skulls.
Yeah, I heard about that.
They killed them
I didn't believe it.
because people were taking boats and going out beyond the international territorial waters and swimming with them in the free zone, so to speak. Unacceptable. Then they killed them. So be very careful. Whatever you do with this, keep it to yourself. Are we ready? Do we need to change tape or can we do this? Okay. So let's do an exercise on the dolphin frequency. Memorize this symbol in royal blue right here. And what we're going to do in the exercise is hold that symbol at the pineal gland and then enter it at the dot. I will walk you through this like I did the last one. Keeping in mind, the dolphins reserve the right to not let you in. You might be thinking about something or feeling something that they are disturbed by, and they, for this particular moment, they may not let you in. So don't feel if you block that you can never get in. It's just for this moment, for whatever reason they have. You can't be hurt on this frequency. And when you come out, I'll explain some more things about it to help you understand what you've experienced. So are you ready to try this? Yeah? So feet flat on the floor, hands at your lap. Start taking a couple of cleansing breaths in through the nostrils, slowly out through the mouth. Balance your T-bar or center the dot in the circle in royal blue. And then visualize the dolphin frequency at the pineal gland in royal blue. It's 2 circles with a dot in the middle and 3 sine waves underneath, all in royal blue. Visualize that now at your pineal gland, and then slowly start moving your consciousness through the dot in the middle of the 2 circles. And as you move through that dot, when you come out on the other side, you will be in dolphin frequency. Take note of what you perceive in that frequency on the other side. Look down at your body to see what it looks like to you. If you see any dolphins in front of you, pay attention to the color of their bodies and the color of their eyes. You may communicate with any dolphins you see by communicating from your pineal gland to their pineal gland, connecting the two. And you may ask any question you like. You might even ask where you are. Stay on the frequency for as long as you feel comfortable. When you feel like you are ready to return, move back through the dot between the two circles that you entered, so that you are back at your pineal gland area. Put yourself into brown, both inside and around you. Balance your T-bar or center the dot in the circle. And when you feel comfortable, you can become aware of the room again. And you can take your time doing that. Because sometimes you don't ever want to come back. How many of you were able to actually enter into frequency? Are you okay? How many of you were actually able to interact with a dolphin? Yes? By the way, did you look down at yourself? What did you see? And anyone else? A lot of people say that. And did you see? Okay. What color was the body of the dolphin? The body. Silver blue. Silver blue. Okay. What color were the eyes? Violet? You went together again. Went together separately. Dark eyes. Okay, here's the thing. When you see the conventional darker blue, silvery, blue, gray, black body, you are swimming actually with a physical pod of dolphins on the earth. When you see a different vibrational color, like pure silver, violet, gold dolphins, those are hyperspace dolphins. They're not physical. They're the actual species mind pattern. They usually have violet eyes. So you saw a combination. What you might have been looking at is a physical dolphin that was communicating with its hyperspace self. That's unusual, but very interesting. When you're swimming with a physical body dolphin, you could ask, where on the earth am I? Ask them where you are, so you can get a perspective. I just need to tell you this because it may happen if you do this on your own. In the last year that I've been doing this particular exercise with groups, people have been reporting to me, at least sometimes in a large group, there's always one person that reports to me that they're seeing dolphins with very red eyes and hostile and ringing them, like around them and not letting them through. And then I realized these dolphins were mind-control dolphins in some kind of military experiment or location, and they were literally protecting the person. Because despite being mind-controlled and very hostile, they told everyone, you cannot come here, don't go any further. They won you away. Even under those conditions, they had your interest at heart. So if that ever happens, go to Brown and come out. Don't stay there. Because the government will know you're there, your energy, and they will tap into you. So get out. Did you have interaction, communication with the dolphin? Anybody? Yeah?
I started getting pictures.
You want to share that?
It's hard to explain because it was moving fast. It was almost like once I looked at the dolphin, it just started flashing me pictures of civilization, like ancient pictures.
Like what did it look like? Yeah, so what that look like?
Big stone, some of them circular.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
There might have been some triangles in there now that I think.
Okay. Dolphins, especially in the Caribbean area, are kind of guardianing the Atlantean remains. In fact, Atlanteans, as we'll discuss tomorrow, were very well known for their hybridization experiments. And they mixed dolphin DNA with human DNA and created the legend, or what became known as mermaids or mermen or merfolk. They did that. And they were the they did that to create a species that could go between the dolphins and humans so that they could learn from the dolphins with use of the merfolk. There's only 3 places on the earth right now where these remnants exist of mer people, literally. One is off the east coast of South Carolina on those little islands that exist off the Charleston area. The other place is in the Bay of Fundy off Nova Scotia. Oh, you hanging out with dolphins? And the third place is off the north coast of Scotland, near the Hebrides Islands. There are still pockets that to this day people are sighting these creatures. Now they don't look like the Hollywood mer people with the tail and the human body on top. They basically look like human beings that are fish-like in nature, but very streamlined. And they usually have, sometimes they have hair, sometimes they don't have hair, depending. They said the females have hair, the males do not. But they're very, sometimes they have webbed feet, or sometimes they just have a fish-like body with no limbs.
My husband is all bald, he's got with toes.
You married a dolphin, huh? Did you get any information that was helpful to you, or was it just curiosity to you?
I just got personal information about things I've discussed in my life.
All right. Okay. You can stay in this on your own for as long as you like. If you do this at night, as we go into bed, you put this symbol at your pineal gland and do some of your slow breathing. In moments, you'll be out. You'll have a very decent night's sleep, and you will never need any kind of sleeping medication or anything again. This is an excellent sleeping pill. This is an excellent sleeping pill, and it's protected. Now, some people report that they go into whale. They see a whale instead of a dolphin. Be aware that dolphins are related to whales. Dolphins are to whales what humans are to monkeys. If you can understand the analogy, it's just a higher level of the same thing. And so, the whale frequency, instead of being royal blue, is kind of just like a darker blue. Not navy, but darker blue. But it's just a subtle difference. It's not royal blue, it's dark blue. Now here's what you need to be careful of. If you take this symbol in navy blue and then flip it upside down, that's shark frequency. Sharks and dolphins don't get along, as you may know. Dolphins can kill sharks. So flip that upside down in navy blue, it's shark frequency. I wouldn't go there. Okay. Any questions on dolphin frequency? We're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, we're going to do a healing technique, and I want you to keep something in mind before the break so you can think about it. Think of 2 or 3 people to whom you can send healing energies that you can get feedback from. Some rules and regulations to follow. Cannot be a child under 18 months old or any infant, because their system is not yet developed to accept this without knowing what you're doing. Also cannot be a terminally ill patient, because their system is also not